This is a special news presentation of Fox 45.
Hello, I'm Craig Demchek. Welcome to Israel.
It's a country not even as big as Maryland, but it commands the attention of the world. Israel, now celebrating 50 years of statehood, is an international crossroads for religion, politics, and culture.
We're here with some of your neighbors from Baltimore, people just like you, most of them visiting this country for the first time. In the next half hour, you'll see Israel through their eyes. The people, the places, the issues that help shape this nation.
Welcome to Israel Through Baltimore Eyes. We came here with Baltimore area community leaders who took part in a so-called Mission to Israel, sponsored by the Baltimore Jewish Council. For 10 days, we explored this country, learning more about its rich history and current events, sampling its incredible diversity, sharing the beauty of its people and this land.
So how would you compare life in Jerusalem, for example, with life in Baltimore? Well, let's find out by talking with two people who've called both cities home.
Well, maybe I should bring out the taster's choice instead of the Israeli brand.
Welcome to the Jerusalem home of Michael Hoffman, his wife Jessica Kaz, and 3-year-old daughter Dory.
We got here just about a year ago, a little over a year ago, from Baltimore. We were in Pikesville.
He came here working in real estate, but now is in high tech.
Yellow. It's going to be yellow.
Jessica, is there sugar on the table?
She is a full-time mom, both living a dream.
I think we felt that having an experience like this was something that was much easier to do younger.
I like what my in-laws said the best, which was, you can go, just leave the baby. Right? Go ahead, have your adventure.
Picking up and moving to this country that is both the national and spiritual home of Jews worldwide.
For me, being here is that Jewish experience and to feel close to that history, but it's also just the experience of an American living abroad.
And getting a sense of how others see America.
You get a sense of American arrogance.
Even during our visit, the U.S. again was right in the middle of Israel's internal affairs.
America trying to impose its policy, and I think that America's in a difficult spot with that because it is the only superpower and it does have to act in a certain way.
I think that 911
He says the U.S. also is perceived as being far more violent.
It sounds funny because when I talk to people in America, they say, you live in Israel, it's so dangerous. But the truth is, from a day-to-day perspective, carjackings and any kind of sort of day-to-day violence that you have in America just doesn't exist.
Dory might go to the school that's, 2 blocks away. She'll walk by herself when she's going into 1st grade. Kids are on and off the buses by themselves by age 8, 9 years old. They can go into town.
Where a very different threat could be waiting.
Crime is minimal here, but the fear is a different kind of a fear.
Of terrorism, perhaps a bomb on a busy street.
Last summer, when the attacks happened in town and in the shuk, in the open fruit and vegetable market, we clearly stayed away from there for a while, and I certainly walked around, a little more nervous. And that is a different kind of attention that lives with you for a little while, and then you go back to normal life. I mean, Israelis are incredibly resilient.
Normal life, among other things, also can be expensive.
The cost of living is high.
I mean, certainly I can't go, buy Dory's new kitchen was not on sale at Toys R Us for $40 or $50. It costs twice as much.
And what about real homes? This is a typical Jerusalem suburb where even a 2 or 3 bedroom condo can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. On top of that, you have to come up with a down payment of 80%. Certainly, Michael and Jessica do miss parts of their life back in Baltimore, family and friends right at the top of that list. But they also feel it's important to let go of their American roots to become more a part of Israeli society, even though Jessica says at times that can be a challenge.
The opinions are right out, are very raw, and are very are expressed, and that's different. I mean, certainly it's not something I was used to in America. I mean, we have a level of politeness and of distance that just isn't the case here.
When they want to get away from it all, they have many options close to home. The Mediterranean beaches, for example, are just an hour away from Jerusalem.
We go on trips, you know, the same kind of trips. There are beautiful sites all over the country. We'll go up north and stay somewhere at a little inn or at a kibbutz guest house and go swimming and hike around.
A glimpse of Israel through the eyes of a one-time Baltimore family who've come from one nation of immigrants to another.
So I'm very proud of, the risk that we took, and that luckily it's working out. I feel very grateful.
At least for the time being.
I'm not into predictions. I think we're here now, and as what I always say is, we're here till we move back.
Among the latest additions to a new society with ancient roots.
And when was our new little baby
Our new
born?
baby was born this morning at 8:30, and she weighs
As you
7
probably
pounds,
noticed,
4
Jessica was about to have a
ounces.
baby during our visit. She did the day after. Michael and Jessica now have another little girl. Her name is Maytal Hadassah Hoffman. She weighed just over 7 pounds, and everyone is doing well. Coming up on Israel Through Baltimore Eyes, we'll take you to Israel's National Memorial to the 6 million victims of the Holocaust. A deeply moving experience for members of our group, and for very different reasons.
The loss, so profound. And as an African American, I can especially feel this.
Israel Through Baltimore Eyes continues when we come back. Welcome back to Israel Through Baltimore Eyes.
A scholar once said there are two events that have had the greatest impact on the Jewish people. One, of course, was standing at Sinai receiving the commandments. The other was the Holocaust, remembered in Jerusalem, here at Yad Vashem.
This is a thou shalt museum. You must remember.
The 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust.
The name of this place is Yad Vashem, and Father, I didn't forget. I know it comes from a sentence in the book of Isaiah.
Israel's national remembrance of 6 years of mass murder by the Nazi regime.
It's our memorial. It's a memorial for the victims. This is my place. This is where I remember what happened to my people.
Beginning with the children. Inside, past photos like these, a dark room in which candles are reflected into infinite points of light.
Daniel Baumgarten, 9 years old, Lodge.
Along with a recording of the names and ages of some of the 1.5 million children killed by the Nazis. At this museum, visitors don't just see and hear.
But I have found my people here.
They feel, perhaps even holding a prayer service.
We pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of man.
Remembering not only Jews, but others who tried to help.
We remember the righteous among the nations who risked their lives to save our fellow Jews from persecution and death.
A deeply emotional experience for members of our group,
So powerful.
and for very different reasons.
The loss, so profound. And as an African American, I can especially feel this. As I was walking through and looking at the photographs, I saw one that must have been taken inside of one of the concentration camps where they sleep. And I thought about the slave ships and how they piled slaves on top of each other. And I think about those two events in history and the horrific atrocity of it. It just overwhelms me and leaves me right now just at a loss, trembling.
Those who come here say it is different than any other Holocaust memorial in the world.
Very, very emotional.
It's not that there aren't lessons to be learned in a universal sense from this place, but it's very much a personal place for me and for the Jewish people.
Like Mark Preston of Baltimore.
Huge. You're part of it. You feel it here. This is where it is. This is where they, when we're out in Baltimore or Washington, we've got our lives, we got different countries. Here, this is it. I can't forget.
The commandment of Yad Vashem.
Now remember, we all come to Jerusalem as pilgrims.
But you might be wondering why the Baltimore Jewish Council would sponsor this trip, bringing more than a dozen community leaders here. They say the idea of this mission is to show Israel, warts and all.
To gain a deeper appreciation, a better appreciation of what Israel's all about. People back in Baltimore read about Israel, they hear about Israel, they usually don't understand it. And our job is to give them that understanding.
If you had to summarize the major issues, potential conflicts in Israel, past and present, these would probably be at the top of your list. Land, water, religion, not necessarily in that order, but all tied to national security.
You'll find two of the three in the Golan Heights, the mountainous terrain in northern Israel captured from Syria during the Six-Day War of 1967. But we also visited some very different battlefields, where the attacks can come without warning and where the casualties are civilian.
A kibbutz is a way of life.
A communal society, uniquely Israeli, formed in the early 20s.
I was born here. I was born here and I spent most of my life as a child and as an adult until now here in Kfar Blum.
In northern Galilee, where more than 200 families live and work at one of the kibbutz industries, which include farming and tourism.
We are about 7 kilometers, which is about 3 miles away from the Lebanese border. And for an American, it is unbelievable. How can people live in such proximity to a hostile border?
Especially considering what's come across that border.
And sometimes they will bombard us by Katyusha rockets or just shells, and we had to go somewhere.
Homes here have a built-in bomb shelter, a reinforced room, in this case used as a child's bedroom. Rockets hit a nearby town just last year. Never far out of reach are the family's gas masks.
It doesn't affect our daily life. We don't live with a danger living upon us like a cloud. We just live our life. That's life.
But fear did loom over communities like Kfar Blum until the Six-Day War of 1967. That's when Israel routed enemy forces entrenched in the neighboring Golan Heights, freeing the villages and kibbutzim in the valley below from 19 years of recurrent shelling.
This was the forward base of the Syrian attempt to drive the farmers and residents of northern Israel away.
Vivid reminders of that conflict remain.
Before 1967, where we're standing now is controlled by Syria. The Syrians laid the mines that are in these fields, but because they didn't keep records of where they placed the mines, it's fenced off even to this day.
And even now, this area remains a key to Israel's security.
Israel has been attacked several times during its history, and this is the front that we're most vulnerable on. The Golan Heights is a perfect staging ground for a massive attack.
In addition, 60% of the nation's water comes from sources controlled by the Golan Heights.
We hope to never have to fight over this land again, and a peace agreement with Syria is the best way to ensure that.
Another front for Israeli troops has been in Lebanon. The IDF crossed the border in 1982 to remove PLO terrorists who were based there. The army is still there.
On the other side of this fence begins pure and total anarchy.
Mike Ginsberg is the security officer for kibbutz Misgav Am, right on the border with Lebanon. He says current negotiations to withdraw Israeli troops always include the word if.
Because if means if terrorists come from over there and kill women and children over here, and that's a price that I'm not willing to pay at the moment.
He speaks from grim experience, an April night in 1980.
5 PLO terrorists cut the fence we were standing and more or less walked down the same path that we walked down. The house that they attacked is this house behind me. This is a children's house.
They got inside and took hostages. They shot one man and then threw out a grenade to keep away would-be rescuers.
The terrorists who were situated at the windows of the upper level open fired everything that moved on the outside.
A swing set still bears bullet holes from that night. Israeli commandos killed the 5 terrorists who had already killed 2 children and 1 adult. A way of life difficult for Americans and for our group from Baltimore in particular to grasp.
You know, looking at that house and just envisioning, what is it like in the dead of night when children are resting and you feel at peace? And there are guards around watching the perimeters and things like that. It makes me realize how fortunate I am to live in a country that I've never had to experience that and to have real empathy.
Security also is a major issue in the West Bank, the Israeli-controlled territory that surrounds most of Jerusalem.
The name of the place refers to the West Bank of the Jordan River, another of the territories taken over by Israel for security reasons in 1967. But Palestinians lay claim to some of this land for a future state of their own. Today, the stalled peace process involving the 2 sides hinges upon 2 main issues: the size of the Israeli withdrawal from disputed territories in exchange for concrete measures by the Palestinian Authority assuring security for Israel as a whole and for Israeli settlers in those areas, including the West Bank. The Israeli settlement of Pis-Zagot, north of Jerusalem.
Shalom.
The warmth of these children, a sharp contrast to the harshness of this place. Harsh in more ways than one.
I think the fact that we exist here is the core of the problem.
Evita Mazuz came here 15 years ago from England. She and her family, including 7 children, ages 1 through 17, are among the nearly 130,000 settlers in the West Bank alone. Many wondering what will happen to them as part of the ongoing tug-of-war over military presence and land between Israel and the Palestinians.
I think it's a problem for all of us, all the people living in Israel, because any piece of land given up or given over to the Arabs means less security for ourselves, and it involves everybody.
Ironically, Mazuz is talking about her neighbors. Just down the hill from her settlement is Ramallah, the unofficial West Bank capital for the Palestinian Authority.
It's a place where I wouldn't go. It's a place that I wouldn't drive near, and it's a place that I know if I go anywhere near there, I'm in trouble. I won't come out of there alive.
We went there to meet with a Palestinian Authority representative to hear their perspective on the peace process and the Israeli presence in the West Bank.
And those measures, namely the settlement activity, is what making the Palestinians not only to lose hope in the peace process, but also to be desperate. We recognized the Israeli state. We did not agree to negotiate on the West Bank, to split the West Bank.
Palestinian Authority Chairman Yasser Arafat has warned that if a peace agreement is not finalized by this time next year, he will unilaterally proclaim a state of Palestine. But here's an example of different cultures very much getting along. It's the Israeli Arab village of Saknin. The village is part of a regional partnership with the Jewish communities in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Arab teenagers invited us into their homes to share some of their culture. It was a fantastic experience.
Our look at Israel through Baltimore eyes continues when we come back.
One of our stops was this wonderful story near Haifa, the youth village of Yemen Ord. A world orphanage of sorts, founded in principle by a Baltimore woman, Henrietta Zold. After World War II, she helped relocate displaced children from Europe to Israel.
She made this all possible, and we really are committed to her philosophy, her guiding principles. The child is everything that you should focus around.
Not only does this community have roots in Baltimore, soon it will have more Baltimore visitors.
Congressman Elijah Cummings has set up a foundation to send young people from his district to Israel to meet the children at Yemen Ord. We wish we had more time to show you just the beauty of this land, the majestic mountains of the north, the serenity of Galilee. In contrast, the cosmopolitan flair of Tel Aviv and its wonderful Mediterranean beaches. We also visited the Dead Sea and Masada. But the key to getting to any of these places is a good guide, and we had a great one.
around here. We're going to walk across the city. We're going north now. We're going to walk across the city, and we're going to start the Via Dolorosa.
Lee Burlman of Jerusalem has been a government-licensed tour guide for 25 years.
I was a bum to start with. I had to think about going back to work, and this seemed a natural thing for me to do. I love hiking. I love being outside. I love people. I love the history. I love the country. It's important for me to for people to understand it.
She also loves staying on schedule.
No shopping, not now, not on my time.
At 65 years old, she sets a brisk pace.
She's grandmother and almost great-grandmother, right?
How else would you describe her?
Vivacious, outstanding, knowledgeable, perceptive, deep and broad.
Oh, this favorite family member, you know, the favorite aunt who sort of embraces everyone, brings them in together.
Version, we sang the Hebrew version.
This day, she brings the old city to life.
And that's what they were singing.
As always, interweaving a history lesson with humor.
She's going to be cured of all that ails her. We're going to drop you into the Bethesda pools. And I'm going to say to you, pick up your bed and walk. I enjoy their enthusiasm. I enjoy helping them understand their backgrounds, whether they be Jewish or they be Christian.
Lee is fabulous. I think she has enormous sensitivity to all the different faiths.
You see this gentleman over here? What's he telling you? He lives in that house. He has been to the Hajj. He's been to the pilgrimage. He's got the Kaaba there, the black rock that he's walked around. And this man probably has added to his name Hajj.
Oh, okay.
I think the nicest compliment I ever got from a tourist was that I made him feel so at home here.
As with us.
And whoever then first, after the stirring up of the water, stepped in was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. And because this pool, Bethesda, had a tradition of healing, that's why your hospital is called the Bethesda Hospital.
Turn a corner, turn another page in time.
We are now going to walk to the top of the stairs. That's the 7th station, the cross, and it remembers the second time that Jesus fell. We are going to turn left. Egyptian potatoes.
Into a river of people, most buying or selling.
I always come through here and think, look at all the things I can live without. There's an old Christian sentence, lead me not into temptation, deliver me from evil. If you are led into temptation, I'll see you at the hotel tonight at 6 o'clock.
She leads her flock any way she can. A flock who by now struggle to keep up.
You're fading. Now you know I am in such good shape. If they don't complain, but I can see that they wear down as the day goes on.
Until it seems as if you've walked through all 3,000 years. And Lee does this just about every day.
But I think the best memories I have of this group is when I see somebody's face light up and all of a sudden say, I understand. And when I hear that, then I know it's worth all the effort. That for me is the payoff in this kind of work.
Along with a heartfelt thank you.
And, you know, I knew this would be the experience of a lifetime coming to see what we're seeing, but I didn't meet somebody I'll remember for a lifetime, and this lady that has been taking us around. See, and I even get a kiss.
A very special souvenir from Jerusalem.
We hope you've enjoyed this look at Israel through Baltimore eyes. Thanks for joining us. For videographer Eric Kettering, I'm Craig Demchek. Good night from Israel.